Yes, welcome to episode 7 of the Life with Laith podcast. Today I've got a brother, Alex, who's going to be joining us. Alex is a fellow Sacred Sons leader, as well as a man that is a heart, and he's going to be the man that is bringing through his medicine today.
Hey,
Hey,
can you hear me
brother
well?
Alex. Hey, good to see you, man. Where are you checking in from?
I'm home in Portugal in Lagos, by the beach.
Wow. Oh,
I
bro.
just did a little gym session. Just went to do some practice, and now I had a nice sync up here with my brother, Sacred Son brother Auke. He's gonna co-facilitate the retreat, which starts next week. We have 21 men signed up, so we just synced up for
Mm,
the program. It was beautiful.
mm,
Yeah. So good to see you,
beautiful.
bro. So good to see
Yeah,
you.
bro, sounds incredible. So good
Thanks
to
for the
see you
invitation,
too,
bro. Thanks
man.
for the
Wow, so
invitation.
good to see you. Ah, My absolute pleasure, brother. It's an honor, like I'm following your work that you're doing. I'm seeing all the amazing spaces in which you're creating, and it's inspiring, man. Like I know I do work as well here in the UK. But what would be great maybe is for those that maybe don't know, would you be open just to introducing yourself and telling us a bit more about, who you are
Of
and
course.
what you do?
So my name is Alex. I'm half German, half Brazilian, raised in Portugal. Um, I've been into men's work for
Mm,
the past 4 years. I had like my awakening, I would say. It's a little bit woo, but let's say 10 years ago, I had like a wake up where I got out of the hamster wheel and started doing yoga. My background is yoga. I had 3 yoga teacher trainings, did a meditation training, did a breathwork facilitator training. Did a lot of personal development the last 10 years, and then I discovered man's work, and I found like why, because I didn't know why I was doing all these courses. I didn't feel passion, like real passion for them. But now with man's work, I really, I can bring them all together. It's like full circle. And it's the reason why I wake up in the morning is this work. It saved my life. I was suicidal. I had suicidal tendencies. I still have sometimes, but I can integrate them and I can work with them. And I think it's through the pain that I have, that I carry in my heart, that people feel that it's real, the work that I do, that it's authentic. It's not like something that I learned in a book. It's like really from the stuff that I went through. And I think that brings
mm,
trust to the man, so they feel that the work I do is genuine, and yeah, it's pretty much my journey in a nutshell, let's say.
mm, Thank you, brother. Well, I can feel that, and I know it's genuine. Like when I met you and the connection in which we created, and you're a heart-led man, and we'll discuss more about what that means. But what I'd love as well is for you to share from your perspective as someone who's been in this space now, for a good amount of time, this men's work space. I still get asked frequently, so what is men's work? Because actually, in order to define that, especially to my sisters and the women in my life, like what happens? And so I'd be really open, both curiously for myself and for those listening, for you to kind of maybe share. If I ask you the question, Alex, what is men's
Well,
work? Where would that guide
it's a
you?
good question. It's a deep question, and I always like to make things simple. So man's work for me is when you do the work as a man and no one is watching. No one is tapping you on your shoulder, no one's giving you
Mm,
feedback, no one's giving you likes. It's how do you show up in your daily life? That is man's work. How do you show up for your loved ones? How do you show up in your community? How do you show up with your family, with your parents, with your sisters, with your brothers? Do you take out the trash? Can be also the little things. Do you clean your house?
mm,
Do you say a loving word to your partner? Do you see her? Do you appreciate her? That's how you show up, and that's the work we do. We do these events and these gatherings, and they're very nice and they're very intense and they're master classes. But it's how we show up in the daily lives. That's what counts in the end.
mm,
So this is the
mm,
intention.
it's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And we always say as well at the end of our circles, the real work starts when you leave the door. you know, when you walk out of this space, that's where the work starts. Like what you do in these containers, it can prepare you. It's preparation. But the real battlefield is once you go out into the real world, you know? And actually, that's the medicine in which is created in these containers, where you have this connection with other men, you create relatability, you express different emotions, but then fundamentally, how do you turn up in front of your partner when she asks you to take the trash out? How do you turn up in front of the person in the street who shouts at you because you've crossed the road the wrong way? Like, we're in those moments, that's when we ask ourselves, you know, what is the work? You know, how is the
Yeah.
work affecting your life? And actually, that's why men's work is so important, right? And we're seeing this resurgence of men's work. And I'd love to maybe hear more about, you know, where your journey in men's work is at the moment, and, you know, what you're birthing into the world and why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I always felt a big need, you know, to be seen by other men, because I never had a figure in my life who would like see me, who would appreciate me, who would teach me about the wisdom of life, you know, the secrets of life, of how do you generate trust, how do you generate love, self-love, self-care, all these things. I didn't have that figure. So this is how I got into men's work. Like this yearning in my heart, in my soul, for connections to other men, to wise men, you know, to elders, to also to young men, to all kinds of men who inspire me and who I can inspire, to be seen and to also see them, to bless them in a way, and to be blessed. And nowadays, you know, I have this urge of continually evolving as a facilitator. So I've been doing a lot of courses. At the moment, I'm doing a course in the US, teacher training, which is very inspiring. It's outside of the organization that we met through. It's not with Sacred Sons, and I feel there's a lot of different pieces that are coming also full circle. I'm integrating new things, and bringing in also intimacy, polarity work, sexuality, which is also very important. That I feel we still have a lot of shame around sexuality, me included. You know, I grew up in a household where we didn't talk about sex. We didn't really talk about intimacy. Everything was shamed away. So yeah, at the moment I'm discovering and exploring these things and healing myself with it. You know, healing my trauma and my shame and guilt about my sexuality, about my body, about also even sex, how I had sex in the past. You know, it would be on alcohol or drugs, very unconsciously. So this is a big piece at the moment that I'm going through.
I appreciate you sharing that, brother. And like that's the real stuff, you know. Like that's the real stuff, you know. It's that level of work where it can be quite ugly sometimes, you know, like going into the corners of ourselves and, you know, looking at those parts of ourselves that we don't want to look at, you know, and those parts of ourselves that we're hiding from ourselves. And actually, you know, we can call it the shadow, you know, the part that we don't look at, the part that we hide behind us. And giving ourselves the permission to go into that, and also being supported, because it can be scary, you know, it can be really scary. And I know, speaking from experience, there's parts of my shadow which like make me anxious, you know, it literally makes me viscerally uncomfortable to contemplate going into those parts of myself. And I think that's why these spaces are really beautiful and important, because I think beyond, you know, the facade of these big brands and all these big media and all the sage and ceremony, like that's important, but actually like the work is pretty ugly and raw at times, you know, like beyond all the merchandise, like it's pretty challenging, and yet with all of that said, you know, we're at this beautiful place where like these spaces are being created, and it's so important. And you know, this thing around sexuality as well is we carry a lot of shame, you know, as men around that, and actually being a man can be quite loaded in today's world, you know. So actually creating these spaces. So, you know, the theme of this conversation, which I'd really like to kind of draw into now, is, you know, the idea of a heart-led man, you know. And I know that you're currently going and launching your own training program at the moment, which I kind of tapped into briefly, and I think you're speaking to some of this stuff. So Alex, if I was to ask you, like, what is a heart-led man, and how would you be able to
Well, a
frame that?
heart-led man, is when I'm in my heart, and that means I'm not performing. I'm not in my mind. I'm not up here.
Mm,
I'm really in my heart space, and I can feel the wisdom of the heart. I can feel the openness of my core, and really be grounded, really be present, really be conscious without having all these ideas and thoughts, and just returning to that infinite space of stillness, infinite space of um, yeah, abundance. It's like being that big rock in the ocean who's standing there, who's still, who's open, and he's just witnessing. And the heart had all the wisdom already. We just have to remember. We just have to reconnect to it because it's all there. So you just have to just be open to receive it, and without having
mm,
to
mm,
perform, without having to do, without having to strive. And that for me is being 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 heart led. It's not easy because we live in this world, you know. We have all these things. We have money. We have to do our living. We have all these things happening. So it's a dance, you know. It's having taking the time to return to our hearts, but then also to be able to dance, you know, to dance with the feminine, to dance, to be like water, to flow, and
mm,
to also not chase, but have like have goals, you know, have goals, have purpose,
mm,
and have a vision, you know, a mission, and do it. So it's a dance. Unfortunately, we're not that capable yet to be only in our hearts. I think we can be connected to the heart, but we have to be present in this realm of reality. So I think one thing is not hindering the other, but it's just the masculine and the feminine, I guess, that dance of polarities, bringing it all to a full circle. Yeah.
mm, so so beautifully said, bro. And it all really resonates, you know, like that like tapping into the heart space from a place of not performance but real attunement, you know, attunement to your higher self, attunement to your heart energy, and actually leading from that space. And you mentioned some really beautiful stuff around like purpose, you know, and actually I recognize that I've been a man that has walked many years without having a sense of purpose, you know, and actually a sense of purpose is can be quite daunting at times, you know, and at the same time it can be the most empowering, beautiful thing. And I guess what's coming up for me is, you know, practically, how does a man tap more into their purpose? And actually, how can a man tune in deeper to their purpose and actually get clearer on their purpose?
Yeah, it's for me, it's with stillness. It's with stillness when I'm
Mm,
able to to, to tap into my stillness, when I'm able to tap into this infinity, to transmit also consciousness, you know, and
mm,
to be grounded, to be just present, really, just be here.
mm,
Then usually I'm not striving and I'm not like trying to figure out things, but I'm just grounding down and just opening up to the world, you know,
mm,
for the heart to open, for the mind to open, for the mind to ease, to get ease, and to receive. Because I believe that that most the real wisdom comes from stillness. We don't have to do, we don't have to strive, we don't have to chase for the wisdom to come to us. That's the ego. When the ego comes in, we start chasing, we start searching. But the heart, the soul finds, because it's open to receive it. It's open to witness it. So it's through the work, through putting in the work, putting in a self practice, and a lot of times I don't do it, you know, and I get caught in the maze of life, and tasks to do, and duties and stress and I forget it. I forget to do my own practice. I forget to get still, to find peace in myself. And it's in those moments that I need it the most, but I don't do it a lot of times. So it's a reminder to take, and it doesn't have to be long. Just every morning to have some structure for my day. It really helps me to reflect the day, to plan the day, and to get into the world with a grounded energy instead of the world crashing on me. I can go into the world and I'm open for it.
and giving yourself the permission that if it's not always, like we have to give ourselves that permission that not to beat ourselves up when we don't stay consistent with our practice, because I recognize I've also dropped into spaces where I've been like, I'm gonna do my meditation every day. Oh, I missed it, and then I drop into like guilt and shame, and then I'm like, well, actually, no, that energy is not supportive to getting back on the train of actually being like, this practice is beneficial for me. So yes, I set the intention to do these practices. I set the intention to do the breath work and the movement every morning and the evening
Yeah,
practice and no
yeah,
phone and no
yeah,
blue light, etc., etc. But actually, it's like, giving ourselves that when that doesn't happen, like I have to remind myself that it's okay, it's okay. Because as long as I intentionally do it more than I don't, then I know that I'm on the right path.
yeah,
As long as I intentionally make it more positive than, less positive, then I'm on the right path, And so it can be a challenge though. And, we spoke about like this idea of purpose, and you mentioned about like really dropping into stillness and really, fundamentally, I'm reading a great book at the moment about the body
yeah,
knows, the body knows, the body is
yeah,
this vessel of wisdom. This body is, this vessel of insight. And actually, when we give ourselves the time to slow down, and this is a reminder for me right now, even in this moment, to slow down and check in with ourselves and really be still. And that is one of the greatest gifts. And what I'm really feeling called to share and actually ask you, you mentioned it briefly, but this piece on elders, because if I think about the people in my life who are still, who are attuned, the elders that I know, and I know for a fact, for myself at least, just speaking from my example, I've been very disconnected from elders. So Alex, talk to me like, how important are elders in our lives, and how do we as men actually create more opportunities to connect with these elders who carry all this
yeah. So
wisdom?
I was in North Carolina for the convergence, and I met one elder there, Noah. Jonah. He's an elder from the Cherokee tribe. His father was a chief. His grandfather was a chief. He's a chief. And I talked to him a little bit, and I was like, getting in the conversation with him with that energy of like, how is this and how is that and how is this? What's about this mystery and what this and this and this? Asking. And after a while, he said to me, Alex, just be still. Just listen. Just listen. Listen to the flow of the water. There was a little fountain, the water was running. Listen to the trees. Just listen. And that's also what I started like to implement much more. Like when I'm with older people, with elders, I just listen, I listen to what they have to say. And a lot of times they don't say much, but what they say is very much on point. It's meaningful, it's profound, and yeah, and I think it's really important to have elders, to have mentors in our lives. And it's not easy to find them because it always has to do with commitment. It always has to do with commitment. Do you really want to commit to a relationship like that? Are you willing to show up for this elder? Like if he needs help, if he needs support, or do you go into this relationship with the energy of like, what can I have? What can I take from this man? What wisdom will he give me? But if you go into this relationship with the mindset or with the heart, like what can I give to this man? what can I give to this elder
Mm,
who lived a long life already? He's been through a lot, I'm sure. So that's always the mindset. That's always the how I attune my heart when I meet people in general, and especially elders, to give them the bow and give them respect for what they've been through and what they have been serving the world in a way, you know.
mm, so beautifully put. And this whole piece around like giving back, right? Because I recognize we're in a society where if you see someone who maybe you perceive as having, more wisdom than you or more achievements than you, it can be very easy to just be like, what do I take from this person?
Yeah.
What can I gain from this relationship? What can I take from
Yes.
this? What can I extract from this? Instead of like this perspective of, yes, there is time and
Mm.
place for inquiry, the
Yeah.
space to
Yeah.
learn and absorb, asking that question, what do
Yeah.
I give back? How do I serve this brother
Yeah.
or this man or this woman who has been here for
Yeah.
many, many years
Yeah.
before me, And actually, sometimes, from what I've learned with some of the elders that I sit with, is actually my silence is my loudest prayer
Yeah.
in that moment, you know. And actually, sometimes having someone who is also just listening and not asking, who is also just being able to be present with them and not, expecting or assuming that they want something or that they're going to give something, and actually just holding the space for them to share. And then also at the same time being open to ask as well. Like I recognize some of the most profound insights I've had in the last few months have been with elders, where I've asked certain questions and what they've shared has completely shifted my trajectory in certain parts of my life, or allowed me to reprogram part of me. I recently was in Cairo with a brother that you may
Yeah.
know,
I know it.
Pierre Tien, and Sacred Son's brother. And in my eyes, he's a beautiful mentor at the moment, and his wisdom and his grounding, and what he really reminded me of was just the fact of like, we have time, and actually there's a young energy that I carry at times where I'm like,
Mm.
I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to get this done, I do this, get this done, without just this remembrance
Yeah.
around like things take time. There's an Arabic saying, yavash, yavash,
Yeah.
slowly, slowly. Everything will
Yes.
happen when it's supposed to, and actually really
Mm.
trusting
Mm.
spirit to guide the right amount of time. And actually, this kind of relates as well to this like heart-led energy, because the heart has no timer. The mind is on clock at times, but the
Yeah.
heart is no timer. The
Mm.
heart just is. So it's like, how do we, from our heart space, not only go slowly, act from that space of stillness, and actually create much more abundance from that space as well, really trusting that everything happens when it's supposed to. But I'm a man that admires elders, have not had elders in my life for a long, long, long time, very disjointed
Mm.
relationship with my father. And therefore, it's something in which I'm feeling really inspired to connect with, but also at the same time, there's a level of seeking, and there's also just another level of stillness and being open to receive. So, Alex, talk to me more about, this heart-led man, and you spoke briefly about how a man can become more heart-led, and these practices. But if we were here together, what practical steps could we share in this moment to an individual who is seeking to really tune into their heart more, and as well, like, what steps could they make, and how do we as men who are on this path support that by giving what's worked
Well,
for
what
us?
really helps me to open up my heart is to give, to give
Mm,
unconditionally, to give something to other people without expecting anything in return, just by giving. Giving, because
mm,
when we give, we will receive. It's like that's full
mm-hmm,
circle. That really usually opens my heart. It's not easy because a lot of people sometimes they're not able to receive, because receiving a lot of times is more difficult than to give, because especially as men, we tend to close up easily, you know, to structure things, to get into the mind, and 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 it's difficult. It's difficult. But if you truly give unconditionally, then you know that giving is, it doesn't matter how the other individual will receive it or will not receive it, but because you're giving it, you're giving without expecting. Giving out compliments, giving out smiles. You see someone on the street and you smile, just smiling. It's something so simple. You know that you don't know that person. You don't know if that person's gonna is gonna smile back at you, but you smile and you can save a life. That smile, just by giving that moment, that given moment to that person, that attention, that focus, that love, can save lives. And that will open your heart, because a lot of times people will smile back at you, and of course it will be nice when they smile. That's not the intention of it, of course, but it's also, it will open your heart. So that's something I do, just little gestures when I'm on the street or in the gym. I just give people a smile or give them a compliment, and yeah, just being human, you know, connecting to our true essence, like not being a machine, not being a robot, but being human. Yeah.
It's really beautiful, really beautifully said. It's really practical as well, you know, like giving with no expectation and allowing ourselves just to feel connected to the world around us just by the smile, just by holding the door open for someone, you know, just by giving someone that extra bit of time when they ask for you to listen to them, you know, even simply asking the question, how are you feeling today, to
Yeah.
someone, to a friend, to, you know, I've been in environments with some sisters, especially, who have said, no one's actually asked me how am I feeling. It's always about what next or what we're doing, you know, where are you going, without being like, actually, can we just all take a moment
Yeah.
to just check in with how we're feeling right now? That's why I feel like these spaces are so beautiful. But what I'm really understanding is, you know, how do we bring what we create in these spaces into the outside world? How do we just check in with ourselves, our brothers, our sisters, our family, our friends? We're like, actually, should we all just take a moment to take a breath? Should we all just take a moment to take a breath? And let's just check in. How are you feeling right now? Okay, now let's go do the thing that we were going to do. But let's just pause for that moment. And that for me is that real attunement into the heart
Yeah,
space
beautiful.
as well.
Very
So
simple, very
yeah,
practical as well.
it's yeah, it's
And yeah, I just did it here when I met my brothers, when we were going to discuss the retreat, the whole program, step by step. And before I said, let's do a check-in, let's do a sync up, let's take a few breaths, and how are we feeling? How are you feeling this moment? And just to express that, to feel into yourself, and to really express, you know, being witnessed, and that opens up the inner world. And it's, yeah, it's beautiful, and we forget it. I forget it so many times in life, you know, even with my partner. A lot of times we have conversations and we're both stressed, you know, and instead of like connecting from the heart, we connect from here, and it's a way different energy, you know, way different energy.
absolutely. I will never forget Carlay, who's a Sacred Sons. You know, Alex. Um, he said to me, the
Yeah,
longest journey is from the head to the heart. And that is the journey as a man and as a human that we are all constantly on, you know, that journey from the head to the heart. It's 17
yeah,
centimeters, but
yeah,
it can take a
yeah,
lifetime, you know. And actually that journey is something that we're all on, you know, so it's really beautiful. So, you know, thank you so much for sharing the insights this morning and really allowing us to drop in. And I feel very, you know, very inspired by these really practical steps of, you know, giving self space, being still, you know, some of the topics we spoke about, elders. I feel we've covered a real beautiful spectrum of different things, you know, but really at this core, you know, being here as a man on this earth and supporting each other and supporting other brothers and then supporting the sisters and the families in our life. And as you mentioned, it can be as simple as the smile. as the check-in, as the breath, because it doesn't need to be complicated, because it's not, it's simple. And actually allowing ourselves to appreciate that simplicity. Alex, before we close, is there anything else you want to share around this topic, or anything else that's alive in you?
Yeah, and what's also how you can really also support other men and women is by, as I said, when you are with someone, really be with that person, really be with that man, really be with that woman by giving your whole presence, really transmit that presence, that grounding, to truly listen to each other, to truly feel each other. And as you said, you know, we're always in a rush. Try to take some time as well. You know, try to take some time while you are with someone. I forget myself a lot of times, and I'm on my phone. I'm already thinking, I'm doing this next, I'm doing this next, and I'm not there. I'm not presently there. So this is also what I can really recommend to everyone. When you're with someone, be with that person. Really be there. Really be there. The other soul, the other heart will feel that. They will feel that, and they will appreciate that, because we need this. We need to be present. And I'm guilty as well. I'm a lot of times not present, and that's something I'm also inviting more into my life by being more present. Just like here, right now, I'm only with you here. I'm only thinking of this conversation. You know, I'm really truly here, listening to you, looking at you, and appreciating you. You know, I still appreciate you a lot because of that first moment when we met. Third thing you did was giving me a sleeping bag, you know. So you truly inspire me, bro.
Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you for sharing that. And it's been beautiful to follow your journey, and also to be in support of what you're doing. And I have no doubt that we're gonna continue to weave, the wands in which we are waving and the work in which we are doing to support each other. And I know this year we're just getting started. A lot has happened, and yet there's so much for us to explore. And that's something I'd love to, we can drop in about when the time's right. But, a piece on what you just shared, there's a great quote, which is, yesterday is a mystery. Tomorrow, no, yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. And actually, presence is sometimes the greatest gift you can give anyone, because it's all your attention, in this moment. And it's
Yeah,
simple, but difficult, but simple.
yeah,
And actually, it's the greatest thing that you can give to someone is that conscious
yeah.
presence. Beautiful. Thank you, brother Alex. I really appreciate you. I'd love for you just to share maybe just how people can connect with you, and then also, some of your upcoming experiences, if you wanted to share, what's coming up for you and how can people get
So
involved.
easiest way is to just reach out on Instagram. For my international audience, I have a men's retreat that I organize twice a year. The next one is next week. It's already booked, sold out. But I have one in November. If who's interested, we do a mix of medicine and masculinity. So we have I have a good friend of mine. He's from Brazil. He brings in the sacred plant, the teacher plant from the Amazon, master plant, and we do masculinity, so men's work. So it's a mix of both worlds. And it's very, very, very potent. And it's going to be in November, the next retreat, 11/11. So who's interested can just reach out. The trailer is on my Instagram. Yeah, man, I think that's pretty much it. I have an online program that I've launched last year, but it's in German, so I don't think it's interesting for your audience.
Mm, mm. Well, I appreciate you, brother. It feels like you've got these incredible things coming up. And medicine and masculinity, it's a really potent, yeah, wow, that's really potent. It's inspiring. So, Alex, thank you so much, brother, for your time, for your energy, for your presence today. I really appreciate you. May the Lagos sun treat you well, my friend.
Much love
Okay,
to Bristol,
sending you
brother.
so much love
Miss you,
and
man.
blessings.
See you in Devon.
Hey. See you in Devon, brother. Speak to you soon, okay? Ciao for now.